The incredible story of Anthony. How an injured knee, his father's betrayal, and unbelievable willpower turned an ordinary player into a champion who over and Deceptio lead his team to victory. Anthony stood on the three-point line. His heart was beating wildly. Only a few seconds remained until the end of the game. The score was tied. A three-pointer could bring victory, but his knee was still burning after the injury. Every step felt like hell. He felt the pressure from all the eyes in the arena, from the coach, from his teammates, from the opponents. Memories were spinning in his head of how he trained with his father, who once mercilessly criticized him and even deliberately injured him. It was his father who insisted on extra training, and during one of them crashed into his knee. Then the meniscus twisted and blocked the joint. The leg stopped obeying. The doctors examined him quickly and said that playing now was very risky. It could end in a serious injury. But Anthony could not accept defeat. His team was fighting. The score was hanging by a thread, and he felt that if he did not do something now, they would lose. He looked at his father, and his blood froze. Because he realized that the man who once caused him pain had actually placed money on the opposing team to get a huge sum from their loss. His heart tightened from betrayal. But now there was no time for doubt. Anthony felt hellish pain in his knee. Every movement was like a knife strike. He knew he could shoot a three-pointer, but decided to be more careful and go for a dunk. The defender rushed toward him to stop him and fouled. The referee awarded a free throw, and if he made it, they would become champions. The pain in his knee was unbearable. He could barely stand, but his eyes met his father's eyes. And at that moment, Anthony understood that he had to prove to the whole world, and first of all to himself, that he was stronger than any betrayal. He clenched his teeth, took a deep breath, and prepared for what could become the most important shot of his life. He stepped to the free throw line. Every movement caused burning pain in his knee. His heart was pounding wildly. Thoughts rushed from pain to his father's betrayal. He felt the eyes of all the spectators burning into him. His teammates clenched their fists. The coach stood at the edge of the court and was silent, his gaze full of expectation and trust. Anthony took a deep breath, remembered all the hours of training, falls and rises, remembered every blow of fate and every lesson from his own body. He squeezed the ball. His legs held him with their last strength. The shot was slow and accurate. The ball flew through the air as if time had slowed down. He felt a brief moment of hope when the ball went straight through the hoop. The team exploded with joy, but the pain did not retreat. The knee burned with aching fire at every step. The doctors stood nearby and tried to convince him not to play, but he knew this was not the time for fear. His rage and determination burned inside. He felt that he had to fight not only for victory, but for his own dignity, for the team, for himself, for the fact that no one would break his spirit. He glanced at his father, and his heart tightened from betrayal. But his determination grew even stronger. Anthony understood that this game could become the most important moment of his life, that not only the result on the scoreboard depended on him, but proof that he was stronger than any obstacles. He felt how his knee barely held him. Every movement caused burning pain. The doctors were already seriously worried. They said that the meniscus was twisted, the joint was locked, and any attempt to play could lead to catastrophe. He lay on the bench, watched his teammates fighting for victory, felt guilt and helplessness. His heart tightened from the fact that he could not help. Thoughts of his traitor father spun in his head, how he deliberately placed money on the opposing team, how he trained Anthony and suddenly crashed into him, leaving the knee injured. Betrayal and pain merged into one feeling of hatred and determination. Anthony understood that his chances of victory depended on how ready he was to ignore the pain. He clenched his teeth, trying not to scream, thought about the team, about the championship, about the fact that he could not let his father and the opponents win. He felt how his knee practically did not obey, but his will was stronger than physical pain. He stood up, supported by the coach and the team, ready to step onto the court. And even if this was the last game of his life, he knew that he had to prove to everyone that a true champion fights until the last second, even when the body gives up and the spirit does not. The team fought without him. Every pass, every shot, every jump was given with enormous effort. The score remained critically close. The opponents pressed hard. The arena exploded with noise and shouts. The coach yelled and tried to support everyone. But he saw that without Anthony, the team had no chance to snatch victory. Each of his teammates felt despair and fatigue. The players screamed, giving their last strength, and even the strongest of them began to break under the pressure of the opponents. And Anthony lay on the bench. The knee throbbed, every muscle and joint screamed in pain. He felt powerless. His hands clenched the ball. He watched the game and saw how his teammates tried to keep balance. Every miss hurt him no less than physical injury. His heart tightened when the opponents scored points. He cursed himself for allowing his father to commit betrayal, for the fact that the injury broke his body but not his spirit. Thoughts about the coach and the team gave him a small ray of hope. He understood that if he did not get up now and do the impossible, they would lose the championship. His anger at his father and despair turned into determination. He clenched his teeth and thought that no one and nothing would break his will anymore. Not the burning pain, not betrayal, not fear. He was going to prove to the whole world that a true champion fights until the last second, even when the body gives up and the spirit does not. The coach approached Anthony. His eyes were full of understanding and determination. He knew that no one else could replace him on the court. He bent over the knee and carefully but decisively began to adjust the meniscus. The pain pierced both the coach and Anthony at the same time. But he did not retreat. He did what no one would dare to do. Anthony's heart was beating wildly. He felt fear and hope at the same time. The knee cracked and burned, but he learned to ignore the pain. The arena noise faded into the background. Sweat ran down his face. His hands trembled, but his mind was clear. Finally, the coach finished, slowly lifted Anthony to his feet. His body trembled from pain, but he could stand. His heart was pounding wildly, and the coach whispered to him, "You can do this." And in that moment, Anthony felt how a wave of determination broke through the pain, stronger than fear, stronger than doubt, stronger than everything that tried to stop him. He put on his jersey, clenched the ball in his hands. His eyes met the gaze of the team, and everyone understood that now on the court there was not just a player, but a warrior ready to fight for victory until the last second, even if the knee could fail at any moment. The arena exploded with shock and admiration. The opponents could not believe such a return, and the father simply froze, not expecting such willpower from Anthony. He stood on the court. The pain was still present, but the will was stronger, and now everything depended on him and the team, on their unity, strategic thinking, and desire to win. The score was tied. Only a few seconds remained. The opponents rushed forward trying to intercept the ball, but Anthony stood like a wall. The knee burned, but he felt that the pain was now only background. His eyes burned with determination. The team moved in harmony. Every pass and shot was precise. The arena exploded with shouts and ovations. The opponents were nervous. They felt the pressure. Anthony used every opportunity to confuse the defense. His body screamed in pain, but his mind and heart were clear. He read the court perfectly, seeing every movement before it happened. He saw that his teammate was ready to intercept and planned a fake move to show that the knee still hurt. His face twisted as if from pain. His pace slowed for a split second. The opponents rushed toward him expecting weakness. Their defense collapsed into the trap, and at that exact moment the ball slipped from Anthony's hands into his teammate's reach. The pass was clean and fast. The crowd gasped. Anthony instantly changed. The hesitation vanished. He exploded forward, pushing off despite the pain. The knee screamed, but he ignored it. His heart was pounding so loudly it drowned out the noise of the arena. He sprinted toward the rim. Every step felt like fire, but his body obeyed his will. The teammate intercepted the ball and returned it perfectly. The timing was flawless. Anthony caught it in motion, leaped toward the basket. The world narrowed to the rim and the ball in his hands. The dunk thundered through the arena. The sound echoed like a statement. The crowd erupted. Teammates screamed. Opponents froze in disbelief, and his father stood motionless, shocked, unable to understand how the plan had collapsed. The team felt a surge of energy. Confidence flooded every player. The opponents hesitated for the first time. Fear appeared in their eyes, and Anthony landed hard. Pain shot through his knee, but he stayed on his feet, staring down the court, knowing the game was not over yet, knowing the final moment was still coming. Only a few seconds remained to the final moment. The score was balanced on the edge. The opponents rushed desperately, trying to regain control. The noise in the arena became deafening. Every shout, every breath mixed into one endless roar. Anthony wiped the sweat from his face. His knee pulsed with pain, but his focus was absolute. He signaled to his teammates, reading the court like a map. The opponents tried to isolate him, to force a mistake, but he stayed calm, moving with calculated steps, using angles and timing. The ball moved quickly between hands. The seconds disappeared mercilessly. The opponents committed a foul in panic. The referee's whistle cut through the noise. Anthony took the ball, his hands steady despite the pain. He walked slowly to the free throw line, feeling the weight of the moment press on his shoulders. The arena felt almost silent, thousands of eyes fixed on him. He glanced at the scoreboard, then at his teammates. Then his gaze stopped on his father, standing rigid, pale, realizing that everything depended on this shot, that all his plans were collapsing. Anthony inhaled deeply. The pain in his knee screamed, but his mind was clear. He bent his knees carefully, lifted the ball, and in that instant he knew he was ready to finish what he started. He released the ball with a smooth, controlled motion, despite the knees shaking beneath him. The shot felt pure the moment it left his fingers. Time stretched thin as the ball arced through the air. The arena held its breath. Anthony stood frozen, muscles locked, eyes fixed on the rim. The pain faded into nothing for a single heartbeat. The ball kissed the rim and dropped cleanly through the net. The sound was sharp and final. The whistle followed instantly, sealing the moment. The arena exploded in noise. The bench emptied. Teammates rushed the court, screaming, laughing, crying. Anthony exhaled as if he had been holding his breath for his entire life. His knee nearly gave out, but hands caught him before he fell. The coach pulled him into a fierce embrace, shouting words Anthony barely heard. The scoreboard confirmed it. They were champions. The opponents stood stunned, hands on their heads. Unable to process what had just happened, Anthony turned slowly, searching the stands. His eyes found his father, who stood motionless, his face empty. The realization finally sinking in that the bet was lost, the plan destroyed, the victory stolen by the very person he tried to break. And in that moment Anthony felt not anger, but release, as if a weight he had carried for years had finally fallen away. Anthony stood in the middle of the court, the crowd around him erupting with cheers, his teammates jumping and hugging each other. The noise was deafening, but he felt a calm clarity inside. The pain in his knee throbbed sharply, yet he barely noticed. Adrenaline and triumph overrode every ache. He looked at the coach, who was grinning widely, at his teammates, whose faces shone with happiness, and finally at his father, who remained frozen, silent, pale, unable to comprehend what had just happened. Anthony understood that the victory was more than just points on a scoreboard. It was proof of will, of spirit, of determination. No amount of betrayal, money, or cunning could break someone who believed in themselves. He felt a rush of pride, a deep warmth of achievement. The team lifted him onto their shoulders, and the arena roared. Anthony's eyes scanned the court, absorbing every scream, every cheer, every clapping hand. He felt the collective heartbeat of his teammates, the unity, the struggle, the sweat, the effort, the late nights of training, the pain, the doubts, all culminating in this one perfect moment. And for the first time in years he realized that he had conquered not just the game, but fear, betrayal, and his own limits. He had proven that true champions are defined not by victories alone, but by the strength of their spirit. The team exploded in celebration. Shouts, laughter, and tears filled the arena. Anthony stood in the center of the chaos, his knee still aching, but a sense of immense relief and pride coursed through him. He watched every teammate glow with happiness. The coach embraced him tightly, a wide grin on his face. The opponents stood frozen, unable to believe the outcome, and his father remained rigid, face pale and expressionless. Finally realizing that all his schemes had failed, Anthony understood that the victory was not just on the scoreboard, but in proving to the world and himself that determination, courage, and heart were stronger than any betrayal, money, or trickery. He breathed deeply, feeling the energy of the crowd, the unity of the team, and the validation of all his struggles. Every fall, every training session, every moment of pain had led to this. The cheers of the arena, the embrace of his teammates, and the look of shock on his father's face confirmed that the battle had been won, not only in the game, but in spirit, Anthony felt an overwhelming sense of connection, of triumph, of proving that no obstacle, not even his own body, could prevent him from achieving greatness. Anthony's father stood motionless, eyes wide with shock and disbelief. He watched his plan crumble completely. All the bets, the schemes, the manipulations could not break his son. Anthony stood tall despite the pain in his knee, his spirit radiating stronger than ever. He had proven not just to his team, but to himself that true strength comes from determination, courage, and heart. The opponents looked on with respect and astonishment. The team surrounded Anthony, laughing, crying, and shouting. The coach beamed with pride, and Anthony felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment, knowing that he had overcome betrayal, physical pain, fear, and doubt. He had won not just the game, but the moral victory. He glanced at his father again, seeing the silent acknowledgement that no amount of money or cunning could ever match genuine courage. Anthony lifted his hands, feeling the roar of the crowd and the unity of the team, understanding that he had become the embodiment of perseverance, that his triumph was more than the championship. It was proof that a true champion conquers not just opponents, but obstacles, pain, and betrayal. And in that moment he felt invincible, unstoppable, and undeniably victorious. The team erupted in celebration, players jumping, laughing, hugging each other, the arena buzzing with shouts and cheers. Anthony stood in the middle of the court, his knee still aching but his pride and relief overwhelming. He saw the joy in every teammate's eyes, the coach's wide smile, the opponents frozen in disbelief, and his father silent, pale, finally realizing that his betrayal had failed. Anthony understood that this victory was about more than points. It was about heart, courage, and unity. He felt the strength of the team lifting him, the energy of their combined efforts surging through him. Every grueling training session, every fall, every struggle and doubt had led to this moment. The cheers and embraces confirmed that they had won together, through determination and trust in each other. The opponents could only watch as the team celebrated. Anthony knew that this was the ultimate proof that no pain, no betrayal, no challenge could break someone who refused to give up. He glanced at the coach, at his teammates, and finally at his father, realizing that he had not only conquered the game, but had risen above the schemes and manipulation. The championship was theirs, but more importantly, the moral victory belonged to him. Anthony stood in the center of the court, his heart pounding, his knee still aching, but now the pain seemed insignificant compared to the triumph he felt. He looked at his father, who remained silent and shocked. Realizing that his schemes had completely failed, Anthony understood that he had proven not only to his team, but to himself that willpower, courage, and determination were stronger than any betrayal, money, or trickery. He felt pride, relief, and joy all at once. The team embraced him, shouting, laughing, and crying. The coach beamed with pride. The opponents stared in astonishment. Anthony knew that this victory was not only about the championship, but about moral strength. He had conquered pain, fear, betrayal, and doubt. His knee still throbbed, but his spirit was unbreakable. He raised his hands, feeling the roar of the crowd and the unity of the team, understanding that a true champion is defined not only by winning games, but by overcoming every obstacle and standing firm against every challenge. He had proven to the world and himself that nothing could break someone who believed in themselves. And in that moment, Anthony felt unstoppable and victorious. The ball bounced off the rim. The referee's whistle sounded simultaneously with the final second. The arena exploded with cheers. The team threw themselves into each other's arms. Anthony stood in the middle of the chaos, his knee still aching, but he felt incredible relief and pride. He looked at his father, who remained silent and shocked, realizing that his plan had failed. The bets and schemes no longer mattered. Anthony understood that true victory is strength of spirit, determination, and faith in oneself. He looked at the team shouting and laughing, at the coach embracing him, at his teammates glowing with happiness, and understood that they had won together, through unity, courage, and belief in each other. His knee still remembered the pain, but his heart was beating with triumph. He realized that he had proven to the world and himself that no injury, no betrayal, And no obstacles could break someone with true determination and the heart of a champion. The team lifted him onto their shoulders. The crowd roared. The opponents looked on with respect and shock, and his father finally understood that nothing could match genuine courage. Anthony smiled through pain and joy, knowing that this victory was not only athletic but moral, that he had overcome pain, betrayal, fear, and doubt, and that he had truly become a champion in every sense.